Slipping on a maiden day, the ports were far and few. Climbing up the jungle gym to steal the bird's eye view. Then I see a simple man all dressed in red and blue. Rock!
Want to catch the big one on your next fishing trip but can't find that perfect bait? Maybe it's time to visit
The Master.
Masturbators. We'll help you yank one out of the water and be the hero of your next fish fry. Tugging and jerking the line with a bigmouth bass can be easy with our proven fish baits. Don't go blind looking for that perfect bait. Harry Palms of Destin, Florida says,
I was a lonely, frustrated man till masturbating made my dreams come true.
It's Masturbators.
Yeah, that too.
Visit us online at lubeandtissue.com or stop by one of our convenient locations at a rest area near you. Masturbators.
We're on the highway.
We're on the highway.
I am the devil. I am the Lord Satan from the netherworld, ruler of the damned and eternal king of hell. Even I, the master of deceit, can only stomach so much bullshit from the mainstream media and indie grifters. That's why I tune in to Morning Extra with Uncle Warren, because he eliminates my competition, and also because I know I'm gonna see that motherfucker soon.
Deo, Deo.
Baby's got a burger and a shooter and that naked and all go down. Baby's got a burger and a shooter and that shit and all go down. Corrosion to her thighs, erosion of no pride. Baby's got it. Baby's got it. Baby's got it. Corrosion now. Corrosion now. Baby's got it.
Baby's got it. I'm so short. What the hell happened? I shrunk 2 inches in the matter of an hour. Good morning, everybody. Uncle Warren here with Morning Extra. We were off for a little bit. I was off a little bit more than usual, if you know what I mean. In the head. Hang on a second. Is this gonna? Okay, that's better. I'm not quite white enough. I'm going for that Casper the Friendly Ghost look. If you were wondering, and I'm not albino. All right, so I don't have red eyes. Only when I smoke weed or drink a lot, or if I've been crying about my miserable life repeatedly. Yeah. Anyway, what happened? Let's say hi to everybody. We'll start with Rumble. We got Spirit of the Age. Hello there. Good to see you, Spirit. And Ghost Starts over there too. And over on the Rockfin, all's quiet on the Western Front so far. Checking out YouTube, we have Steve G. Good to see you, Steve. Steve G. I always want to say it with a French accent. Steve G. Max RJ in the house. Good to see you, my friend. We got Chuck's Intergalactic UFO Show, Intergalactic, another dimension. Ed Heller in the house, too. What's up, Ed? Good to see you, buddy. And, of course, Miguel off the top with the peace sign. Deuces! Good to see all of you lovely folks today. Yeah, I took some time off. Wasn't feeling very good physically and emotionally, mentally, I should say, kind of a crapshoot, too. But I think I was playing, I was being tardy long enough. So let's get back to what's going on. So we've got some news to get to today. No fucking around. Might as well get to it right now. I say that as I'm not ready. Okay. So big news going on in Russia. But first, let's check out this story from the Libertarian Institute. Russian general killed by a car bomb in Moscow before talks with the U.S. Interesting timing, wouldn't you say? You know, I get on here and then I got a snot. Hang on a second. Okay. That's not for public consumption. What's up, Willie? Good to see you. 2025 is not very good except for the 1%. Yeah, I know. You could copy and paste that for 2024, 2023, 2022, 2021. A top Russian military commander was killed by a car bomb near Moscow. The attack happened just hours before U.S. envoy Steve Witkoff met with Russian President Vladimir Putin. On Friday, Lieutenant General Yaroslav Moskalik was killed by a car bomb in Balashika, a city near Moscow. He served as deputy chief of the main operations directorate of the general staff of the Russian armed forces. That's too many ofs in there. According to TASS, Russian officials say Moskalik was the only person killed by the blast. Authorities believe the bomb was an IED containing submunitions and had the power of more than 300 grams of TNT. Russian Foreign Ministry spokesperson and future ex-wife Maria Zakharova called the bombing a terrorist attack. The main question is how to stop the war in the center of Europe, the world. We see so many victims every day, she said. Even today, a Russian general was killed in a terrorist attack in Moscow. Ukraine has conducted similar bombings in Russia during the war. The attack came just hours before Trump's envoy Steve Witkoff met with Putin in Russia. Friday's talks are the fourth round of negotiations between Witkoff and the Russian president. Trump has repeatedly stated that he wants to bring the war in Ukraine to an end. In recent days, he has called on Kiev to recognize Moscow's control over Crimea. Crimea River. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky firmly rejected this proposal because that's what his Zionist masters told him to do. On Wednesday, Trump slammed Zelensky for dismissing the idea, saying this statement is very harmful to the peace negotiations with Russia, in that Crimea was lost years ago under the auspices of President Barack Hussein Obama. Well, he uses the middle name there. As not even a point of discussion, Trump wrote on Truth Social. Zelensky can have peace, or he can fight for another 3 years before losing the whole country, he added. We are very close to a deal, but the man with no cards to play should now finally get it done. Yeah, well, yeah, and he spoke to him. Trump spoke to Zelensky at the Pope's funeral, too. And we'll get to that story coming up a little bit later in the show. Yipper! Was that a fart? What, from me? I didn't fart. I may have made a fart noise with the chair. Quick story. In first grade, me and Sean Martin got in trouble for making fart noises with our shoes on the floor because we kept doing it. Because you know what? Comedy rules and fuck education, right? Anyway, those were in the days when they spanked you in class in front of everybody. That's why you wonder why Gen X is so fucked up. Right? But I don't know how they did it in the North, but down South, man, it's either licks or days. Meanwhile, like we said, in Russia, Putin has is going to declare a 3-day Ukraine ceasefire. It will begin on May 8th. This is from Dave DeCamp over at antiwar.com. Be sure you're supporting them and the Libertarian Institute, whether you believe in their politics or not. Their reporting is top notch, and they bring you nothing but the truth, and we appreciate them for it. So, yesterday, Russian President Vladimir Putin announced a 3-day ceasefire in Ukraine that would begin May 8th at midnight Moscow time to coincide with the 80th anniversary of the Soviet Union's victory against Nazi Germany in World War II. That's right, it's been 80 years since the end of the war. Terrible students, you're supposed to be conformed. Well, you know, we did kind of push it, though. It didn't hurt. It just kind of hurt our feelings a little bit. By order of Supreme Commander-in-Chief of the Armed Forces of the Russian Federation, Vladimir Putin, the Russian side, guided by humanitarian motives, announces a ceasefire for the celebrations of the 80th anniversary of victory in the Great Patriotic War to last from May 8th, 0000 hours Moscow time, to May 11th, 0000 hours Moscow time, the Kremlin said in a statement. The statement added that Russia expects Ukraine to follow the ceasefire, and that in the event of any violations of the ceasefire by the Ukrainian side, the armed forces of the Russian Federation will give a proportionate and efficient response. Ukrainian Foreign Minister Andriy Sybiha criticized the Russian announcement, saying if Putin really wanted peace, he would declare a ceasefire immediately. Come on, man. But, you know, see, this is this thing. It's like, you're going to plan a party. You just don't want to do a party, you know, for nothing. You know, you want to have a theme to it. So it's like the end of the war theme ceasefire. Come on, guys. Honestly, why wait until May 8th if the fire can be ceased now? And since any date for 30 days, so it is real, not just for a parade. Sybiha wrote on X, or Twitter's, whatever you want to call it. Ukraine is ready to support a lasting, durable, and full ceasefire. And this is what we are constantly proposing for at least 30 days. Putin similarly declared a ceasefire on Easter, but both sides accused the other of violating it. And guess what? It's probably going to happen on May 8th, too. Not saying, just saying. The announcement from Putin came after President Trump said that he believed Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky would be willing to cede his claim to Crimea, which has been under Russian control since 2014, to reach a potential peace deal. Publicly, Zelensky has maintained that he would never recognize Crimea as Russian territory, which is funny because he's not really a legitimate president of Ukraine since, he canceled the elections. Trump and Zelensky had a brief meeting at the Vatican on Saturday while they were there to attend Pope Francis' funeral. After the meeting, Trump suggested he might add more sanctions on Russia because, sure, why not? So what did Putin say to the 30-day ceasefire agreement? No dice precious, as Russia dismisses Ukraine's proposal to extend a brief ceasefire to 30 days. This guy's like, you have got to be fucking kidding me. Pass me vodka. Or vodka, as they say. Russia has rejected a proposal from Ukraine to extend Russian President Vladimir Putin's unilateral 3-day ceasefire as the U.S. grows increasingly impatient with stalled efforts to find a long-term solution to end the war. Kremlin spokesman Dmitry Peskov confirmed Tuesday Moscow time that Moscow had seen Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky's offer to extend Putin's brief early May pause in fighting to 30 days. But Peskov said it would be difficult to enter into a long-term ceasefire without first clearing up a number of questions. Zelensky had branded Putin's unilateral truce, which will last from May 8th to 10th and coincide with the end of the celebrations for the end of World War II, an attempt at manipulation. The Ukrainian leader also questioned why Moscow would not agree to Kiev's call for a ceasefire lasting at least 30 days and starting immediately. Peskov threw the Ukrainian president's words back at him, saying that the absence of a direct response from Ukraine to Putin's 3-day pause, which the spokesman described as a gesture of goodwill, was itself a manipulation. The to and fro comes amid pressure from an increasingly impatient White House to agree on a deal to end the conflict. And, so on Sunday, Trump told Putin to stop shooting and sign an agreement after earlier voicing concerns that Putin was just tapping me along. I don't know what that means. Does that mean it's like jerking me around? Is that what that means? Tapping me along? That sounds like some British thing. Sorry if you're British. I'm not making fun of your language, even though it's English and we speak. Last month, Russia stymied a U.S. proposal for a 30-day halt in fighting by calling for far-reaching conditions, including a ban on Ukraine using the pause to regroup and rearm its forces and on Western arms supplies to Kiev. It offered no concessions in return for those demands. Ukraine has accepted the U.S. proposal, which Zelensky saying late on Monday that the ceasefire must be immediate, full, and unconditional for at least 30 days to ensure I get cocaine. Ensure it is secure and guaranteed. You know what? He needs the 30 days to get coked up, baby. Meanwhile, Russian and Ukrainian forces carried out dozens of drone attacks early on Tuesday. A Russian attack on Ukraine's southeastern, whatever that fucking region is, Dnipropetrovsk, killed a 12-year-old girl and wounded 3 others, including a 6-year-old. Russia also launched 20 drones and 31 powerful guided bombs at Kharkiv, Ukraine's second largest city. Debris from an intercepted Russian drone started a fire in a neighborhood of the capital, Kiev, according to officials. In total, Russia fired 100 drones at Ukraine between late Monday and early Tuesday, the Ukrainian Air Force said. In Russia's Belgorod region, which borders Ukraine, an enemy drone deliberately struck a moving vehicle carrying 5 men, said Regional Governor Vyacheslav Gladkov, who reported that 2 people were killed. Full disclosure, I only Googled how to pronounce the conservative guy in Canada who's running for premier. We're going to have the Canadian election results later. But these other, I should have done it for this, especially whatever the fuck that is. Dnipropetrovsk. That sounds like a 60-point Scrabble word right there. Okay, so who reported the people? The Russian army said it shot down 40 drones over various regions overnight, including 4 over the Russian-controlled Crimean Peninsula. Al Jazeera reported civilians living in Russian border communities have faced regular attacks. They've been suffering since the beginning of this conflict. Dozens of towns and villages in Russia's border regions, in particular in Belgrade, they constantly come under attack. Tapping his ass. Tapping also means to guide someone in a gentle or supporting. Oh, okay. Thanks, Yipper. I had no idea what they was tapping me. I'm like, fun fact, a friend of mine, R.I.P. King, his dad had broken down by the side of the road, and he needed somebody with some jumper cables because I think his battery was dead, and he needed a jump start. So these two guys drove by, and he saw his dad out there, and his dad says, "Hey, could you guys mind jacking me off here?" Because he meant jumping me off. And those kids just kind of went and kept going. I know, Wesley, right? I'd like to buy a vowel too. Jesus Christ. Good to see you, brother. All right, back to the show. They've been suffering since the beginning of this conflict. Dozens of towns and villages in Russia's border regions, in particular in Belgorod, they constantly come under attack, she said. Hundreds of thousands of people have been displaced, Shapovalova said, and there are also reports that the Ukrainian army is continuing to build up near the border with the Belgorod region. I think that's it for that. So yeah, so movement in the Russia-Ukraine saga as a ceasefire. They're going to do another ceasefire on May 8th to coincide with the Russians kicking the Nazis' ass. As the current Russians are kicking the current Nazis' ass, as well it should be. What happened? Anyway, we got one more for Russia, don't we? Yeah, we do. Okay. I'm so silly. I haven't done this in a minute. Give me a break. International recognition of Russian-controlled territories in Ukraine imperative for a settlement, according to Moscow. And this is not just for a ceasefire. This is to end the war, I believe. Russia says it remains open to talks, but blames Kiev for lack of negotiations. That's Lavrov, man. You know, look at Lavrov. He looks like probably back in the day. That was a bad motherfucker. You know what I mean? He looks like it. I'm just saying. Those eyes that like, I will kill you in sleep. Oh no. Russia reaffirmed Monday its readiness to engage in direct negotiations with Ukraine, but said international recognition of its control over 5 Ukrainian regions, including Crimea, is imperative for settling the conflict. We remain open to negotiations, but the ball is not in our court. Kiev has not shown readiness for negotiations so far, Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov said in an interview with Brazilian daily O Globo. I thought that was an Irish paper. It's O Globo. The remarks came as U.S. President Donald Trump urged Russia to agree to a ceasefire, telling reporters Sunday that he believes Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky might consider giving up Crimea as part of the settlement, which, of course, Zelensky said, wait, does that mean I get more cocaine? Oh, no? Then fuck that. Lavrov reiterated Moscow's position that Ukraine must not join NATO and should reaffirm its neutral and non-aligned status as a condition for a final resolution that would meet Russia's security interests. Ooh, final resolution. That's poor choice of words there, guy. Since the Russia-Ukraine war began in February 2022, Moscow has taken control of large parts of 4 Ukrainian regions, Donetsk, Kherson, Luhansk, and Zaporizhzhia, and declared them part of its territory along with Crimea, which it illegally annexed in 2014. Kiev condemned the annexations, with Zelensky vowing to expel Russian forces from all Ukrainian territory. The U.S., Turkey, the EU, and dozens of other nations have declared Russia's annexation of Crimea illegal. Right. Which was, you know what else was illegal? When they lied to them in 2014, when they lied to the Russians and said, nah, Ukraine's not going to be part of NATO. What are you talking about? And then, then they start doing their shit. What's next? Oh, so who's been helping Russia? You may be axing. This is a little bit much. Let's put that down there. There we go. So Putin, we knew this already, but they made it official. So Putin thanks North Korea for troop deployment and promises not to forget their sacrifices. He says, I will send you plenty of vodka. Russian President Vladimir Putin thanked North Korea Monday for fighting alongside his troops against Ukrainian forces and promised not to forget their sacrifices hours after North Korea confirmed its deployment for the first time. The back-to-back Russian and North Korean statements, which illustrate their expanding military partnerships, came 2 days after Russia said its troops have fully reclaimed the Kursk region that Ukrainian forces seized in a surprise incursion last year. Ukrainian officials have denied the claim, insisting that the operation in certain areas of Kursk is continuing. That's kind of like, when somebody breaks up with somebody and the other person's like, it's not over. He still loves me. He still loves me. It's not over. It's not over. In a statement posted on the website of the Kremlin, Putin praised North Korean soldiers, who he said, shoulder to shoulder with Russian fighters, defended our motherland as their own. The Russian people will never forget the heroism of the DPRK Special Forces. We will always honor the heroes who gave their lives for Russia, for our common freedom, fighting side by side with their Russian brothers in arms, Putin said, using the acronym of the North's official name. North Korea's first official confirmation. Earlier Monday, yes, continue reading. Earlier Monday, North Korea's Central Military Commission announced that leader Kim Jong-un had decided to send troops to Russia to annihilate and wipe out the Ukrainian neo-Nazi occupiers and liberate the Kursk area in cooperation with the Russian armed forces. What? North Korea doesn't like Nazis? That's crazy. The commission said North Korean troops eventually made an important contribution to Russia retrieving the border territory. It was North Korea's first official confirmation of its troops' deployments to Russia, though it has repeatedly expressed its unwavering support of Russia's fighting against Ukraine. U.S., South Korean, and Ukraine intelligence officials have said North Korea dispatched 10,000 to 12,000 troops to Russia last fall in its first participation in a major armed conflict since the 1950-1953 Korean War. Both Putin and Kim said the North Korean deployment was made under a mutual defense treaty that they had signed in June 2024. The treaty, considered the two countries' biggest defense agreement since the end of the Cold War, requires both nations to use all available means to provide immediate military assistance if either is attacked. Kind of like what NATO has. What is that? The Article 5, if you attack one of us, you attack all of us. North Korea and Russia, locked in separate disputes with the U.S. and its allies, have moved significantly closer to each other in recent years. That's funny how that works when you're, the enemy of my enemy is my friend. But in this case, no, fuck the U.S. Everybody hates those guys. Besides its dispatch of troops, North Korea has been supplying a vast amount of conventional weapons to Russia. South Korea and the U.S. worry that Russia could reward North Korea by transferring high-tech weapons technologies that can enhance its nuclear weapons program, as well as other military and economic assistance. I think they're talking about hypersonic missiles. Because I know North Korea has been trying to develop one of those along with nukes. But if Russia says, here, take rocket, you take, right? Bad Americans threaten you, you tell them you shove up ass, right? That's probably how that went down in a very crude way. Kim's underscoring of North Korea's role in the retaking of the Kursk region implies his urgent wish to get what he wants from Russia, namely its sensitive military technologies and a solid security commitment to North Korea, said Moon Song-mook, an analyst for the Seoul-based Korea Research Institute for National Strategy. Kremlin spokesman Dmitry Peskov said Monday that Russia can provide unspecified military assistance to North Korea if necessary, in accordance with the defense treaty, according to Russian state media agencies. While Russia's claimed recapture of the Kursk region could deprive North Korea of legitimate grounds to maintain its troops in Russia, Moon said that North Korea won't likely pull out its troops from Russia anytime soon, as the war is still going on. Moon said that North Korea could provide support to Russian forces in other regions in a different and covert manner. Yeah, nothing a commie hates worse than a fascist, isn't that right? Jack be nimble, Jack be quick, Jack be off. Rhyming about something sick. Antifa is an anti-fascist communist organization. Yeah. But, they can't stand Antifa because, the powers that be. Okay. Kim Yol-soo, an expert at South Korea's Korea Institute for Military Affairs, said, KIMA, said North Korea also likely acknowledged its troops dispatched because it couldn't hide it any longer and so determined and to use it as a propaganda tool to boost internal unity. He said the North Korean announcement could also signal a prelude to Kim visiting Russia to attend ceremonies marking the May 9th Victory Day. Neither North Korea nor Russia said how many North Korean soldiers eventually came to Russia or how many casualties they suffered, but in March, South Korea's military assessed that around 4,000 North Korean soldiers had been killed or wounded in the Russia-Ukraine war fronts. The South Korean military also said at the time that North Korea sent about 3,000 additional troops to Russia earlier this year. Kim Jong-un said a monument will soon be erected in Pyongyang to mark North Korea's battle feats and that flowers will be laid before the tombstones of the fallen soldiers. Kim said the government must take steps to preferentially treat and take care of the families of the soldiers who took part in the war. North Korean soldiers are highly disciplined and well-trained, but observers say they've become easy targets for drone and artillery attacks on Russia-Ukraine battlefields due to their lack of combat experience and unfamiliarity with the terrain. Still, Ukrainian military and intelligence officers have assessed that the North Koreans gained crucial battlefield experience and have been key to Russia's strategy of overwhelming Ukraine by throwing large numbers of soldiers into the battle for Kursk. Yeah, that's how that works. Desert Manus, what's up, brother? Good to see you. Hope you're doing well, my friend. South Korea's Unification Ministry on Monday urged North Korea to withdraw its troops from Russia immediately, saying the North's support of Russia's illegal invasion of Ukraine poses a grave provocation to international security. Spokesperson Koo Byung-sam also called the North's troops deployment an act against humanity that has sacrificed young North Korean soldiers for their government. They're killing Nazis. What is that? Inglorious Bastards? We're killing Nazis. In a Kremlin meeting Saturday, Valery Gerasimov, chief of the General Staff for Russia's Armed Forces, informed Putin of Russia's regaining of the Kursk region. Gerasimov was first to confirm that North Korean soldiers fought alongside Russia to repel Ukrainian troops from the Kursk region and demonstrated high professionalism, showed fortitude, courage, and heroism in battle. See, they can put that on their LinkedIn profile now, so. If confirmed, Russia's victory in Kursk would deprive Ukraine of key leverage in U.S.-brokered efforts to negotiate an end to the more than 3-year-old war by exchanging its gains for some Russia-occupied land in Ukraine. Trump said Saturday he doubts Putin wants to end the war, expressing new skepticism a peace deal can be reached soon. Only a day earlier, Trump had said Ukraine and Russia were very close to a deal, which tells you how full of shit that Trump is. So. Just because you slam Trump doesn't mean you praise the Democrats. If you always have to say that, that's pretty sad. But it is what it is. Trump's trying to fuck everything up. Meanwhile, you may have heard about this port explosion in Iran, as Iran vows to probe mistakes leading to the deadly port explosion. Iran's Interior Minister Iskandar Momeni said on yesterday that mistakes have been identified and individuals have been summoned in relation to the deadly blast that took place at Shahid Rajai, part of the Bandar Abbas port 2 days ago. Relief forces and the firefighters have been working in the most difficult conditions for the past 2 days to be able to carry out firefighting operations. So far, 46 people have died in this incident, and the missing are being identified. Forensic medicine is identifying them through DNA, and police identification teams have entered the area and are busy working, the minister said, according to Tasnim news agency. Until last night, firefighting was taking place from all 4 sides, and now the entire area has been divided into sections, and responsibility for each section has been assigned to departments so that we can quickly extinguish the fire, he added. Momeni said that the fires are now under control, but that smoke may continue to rise for a few days due to the presence of some chemicals. Yeah, imagine so. Some of the perpetrators of this incident were summoned, he went on to say, adding that mistakes were made. Any individual or group that was negligent or played a role in this incident must be dealt with. It's necessary to conduct a detailed pathology analysis into the reason why the goods remained at the port and prepare a report to be submitted to the government. The deadly blast at the Shahid Rajai part of the Bandar Abbas port took place on April 26th. Aside from the 46 killed, over 800 people have been injured. An Iranian government official said on April 27th that the massive explosion at the port was not connected to any Iranian military activities, and that media reports claiming otherwise are part of a psychological operation carried out by the enemy. Earlier, AP quoted security firm Ambri as claiming that the fire at the port, I'm just going to say the port, may have been caused by improper handling of solid fuel intended for use in ballistic missiles. In addition, Ambry claimed that the port received a shipment of a chemical used in rocket fuel last March. Rocket fuel malt liquor. Damn! The company claimed that the fuel had arrived at Rajai port in part of a shipment is part of a shipment of ammonium percolate that Iran received from China. On Saturday night, the state-run IRNA news agency said that the Customs Administration of Iran blamed a stockpile of hazardous goods and chemical materials stored in the port area for the blast. However, the CEO of Shahid Rajai Port's dangerous goods terminal claimed the blast had no connection to the port's dangerous goods terminal. Iranian lawmaker Mohammad Siraj said in an interview with Rakhna News, which has now been deleted, that the explosion at the port was by no means accidental and showed clear signs of the Zionist entity's involvement. He explained that the occurrence of explosions at 4 different points indicated that explosives had been planted in multiple containers. Chemical materials usually explode in a single location and do not cause multiple explosions at several points simultaneously, he said, suggesting that the containers may have been contaminated by the exporting country during transit or through internal agents. Yeah. What's up, Bella? Bella, percolate. Perchlorate. I know it's perchlorate, but I want to say percolate. All the way full and flowing over with orange shit. Yes. If you was named Valerie, you'd be beat up every day in grade school. Yeah, in America, yeah, but that's Russia. Russia, they don't, I think that's a masculine name over there. It could be. I gotta take a break here for a second. How's everybody doing this morning? Been a minute. I see some of you on the secret show, which is fine. The groundwater in Morrow County, Oregon is contaminated with perchlorate. The Boardman bombing range is located there. Some Marine Camp Lejeune, didn't they have like chemicals there too? I know they did. In just redundant news from Israel, because the Zionists are still in power somehow. 100 Palestinians killed in the weekend of Israeli airstrikes on Gaza. Israel Defense Forces bombing killed at least 100 Palestinians, including numerous women and children in the Gaza Strip over the weekend, while the IDF also renewed airstrikes on Lebanon as ceasefire talks between senior Hamas and Egyptian officials wrapped up in Cairo without any breakthrough. The Gaza Health Ministry said Sunday that Israeli strikes killed at least 51 Palestinians over the previous 24 hours. Among the victims were 8 people, including 3 women and 2 children, killed in an IDF bombing of a tent in Khan Yunis. Bombing tents, y'all. Tents, hospitals, schools. A man and 4 children slain in another strike on a tent in Deir al-Balah, and at least 6 people who died when a coffee shop near the Barej refugee camp was hit. Ministry said Saturday that at least 49 Palestinians were killed during the preceding 24 hours, including 22 members of the Al-Khor family who were sheltering in their Gaza City home when it was bombed. Meanwhile, there's a UK firm supplying engines for Israel's fleet of killer drones. I have some audio on this too. This is wild. British engineering company RCV Engines is supplying the engines for Israel's latest APUS 25 tactical drone produced by the state-owned Israel Aerospace Industries, declassified UK revealed yesterday. The APUS 25 is designed for long endurance and combat operations capable of carrying weapons and conducting surveillance missions, including in Gaza. Images published by IAI show the APUS 25's engine bearing the RCV Engines logo. RCV, based in Dorset, specializes in multi-fuel internal combustion engines. Its connection to Israel's arms industry had remained hidden until now. The firm's director, Lawrence Gould, is the brother of Britain's former ambassador to Israel, Matthew Gould. How about that? The revelation raises concerns that UK-made components are being used to commit war crimes against Palestinian civilians. Hey, Kate, good morning, dear. It's all right. Whenever you get here, that's Kate time, and you're on time, sweetie. It's fine. We're just glad you're here. The drones would come down and pick off civilians, children, retired surgeon Nizam Mahmoudi told British MPs in November. We were operating on children who would say, I was lying on the ground after a bomb had dropped, and this quadcopter came down and hovered over me and shot me. Now, this is some fucked up shit right here. So this is from Low Key on the tweeters. An Israeli quadcopter is roaming Nusrat camp in Gaza and playing the sound of a baby crying. When people go to help what they think is a baby in need, they are shot and killed. Let's listen.
يا جماعة الخير كواد كابتر تطلق صوت أطفال الآن من مخيم انصارات.
That crying is coming from a quadcopter.
بالضبط. حسبنا الله ونعم الوكيل. طبعا زي ما سمعنا بالصوت أي حد بيطلع امبارح استشهدوا شاب.
That is another level of fucked up. This whole thing's been fucked up, but that's just another level. Old man Barker, what's up? Good to see you, man. Hope you're doing well. Although the UK Labour government announced arms export restrictions on Israel in 2024, suspending around 30 licenses, RCV engines may have been exempt. In 2022, RCV confirmed it had received an export license exemption, allowing it to ship engines globally without government approval, allowing lobbying efforts supported by local Conservative MP Sir Christopher Chope. Chope. The Campaign Against Arms Trade, or CAT, condemned the exemption as a dangerous loophole, warning that arms companies exert disproportionate influence over UK policymakers. Labour urgently needs to reverse this decision and close this loophole. It's beyond time it ended its complicity in genocide and prioritized Palestinian lives over the profits of the arms industry. CAT's Emily Apple told Declassified. The report comes as Israeli forces killed more than 40 Palestinians across Gaza since dawn on Monday, including 8 people in the bombing of the Abu Mahdi family, as we told you about in Jabalia. They were sleeping in their homes, feeling safe when missiles hit. This scene makes the body shiver, says Abdul Majid Abu Mahdi, whose brother was killed in the attack. If a person looked at this scene, they would have seen children, women, and elderly men cut into pieces. It makes the heart ache. But what can we do? Individually, nothing. It's individually, it's impossible. But together, who knows? Let's see here. Israel's been having trouble gathering numbers for their murder spree as Israel extends compulsory service as manpower crisis plagues army. The Israeli army has announced that it will extend mandatory service by 4 months due to a growing manpower crisis, coinciding with an intensification of battles in Gaza and the resurgence of deadly resistance operations against invading troops. The additional 4 months will be classified as reserve duty, allowing soldiers to complete a total of 3 years of military service. The military will also cancel pre-release leave for soldiers. Troops will have to serve a full 3 years before being discharged. So no pre-release for you. This decision follows months of intense fighting and rising casualties, which have strained troop levels. The extra 4 months will provide benefits for the soldiers, given that reserve duty is usually compensated by the Israeli government. The army states that its decision is temporary and aims to help alleviate the current troop shortages. When's the last time somebody said, oh, it's just temporary, and then it never went away? That happens all the time. Sorry. At the moment, we are short 10,000 troops, 7,000 of them in combat units, the army said. Israel announced on April 26th the death of Staff Sergeant Netta Yitzhak Kahana, an undercover operative with the Southern Border Police, who was killed during clashes with resistant fighters in Gaza. His death marked the second Israeli soldier to be killed over the weekend. Both were killed in Gaza City's Shujaiya neighborhood, or Shujaiya. Israel has said it will launch a major offensive across Gaza if no progress is made in truce negotiations, because, yeah, that'll bring peace. According to Tel Aviv, current operations in Gaza, which have seen the army seize at least 50% of the Strip's territory, aim to pressure Hamas in talks, not bring about a complete defeat of the resistance groups. An expanded assault on Gaza would include a massive call-up of reservists and operations in new areas of the Strip, the army has said. Last month, Israeli media reported that the army is facing a crisis in its reserves as a growing number of soldiers have indicated a lack of motivation and an unwillingness to serve. A senior commander in the reserves told Haaretz that there are numerous cases of reservist soldiers refusing to report for duty. According to the estimate, the response rate for upcoming reservist call-up is expected to be no more than 50%. This would mark a 50% drop since the start of the war in 2023. The manpower crisis Israel is facing coincides with growing tension between Israel's political and security establishments. Former Shin Bet chief Ami Alian called for civil disobedience against Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu following his dismissal of Shin Bet chief Ronan Bar. This came during a protest in Tel Aviv on Saturday. Israeli protesters have also taken to the streets to demand an immediate exchange agreement, prisoner exchange, I would assume, in Gaza, where relentless airstrikes are endangering the lives of captives still held by the resistance. So yeah, the numbers are dwindling. I don't know if Israel's ever going to go away, but I'm pretty sure a civil war is going to happen there. But not for the right reasons. It's for their own selfish reasons. Meanwhile, the Houthis, you remember the Houthis? Houthis and the Blowfish? With a little love and some tenderness. Oh, that's Houthi. Sorry. These are the Houthis. They said, fuck you, Israel, as the Houthis attack Israel airbase for the second time in 24 hours. What, CBC voter, you slip in here? Where'd you sleep in? You see that? What's up? Sorry, I missed you. So the Houthis, these some bad motherfuckers. The Houthis announced yesterday that they had targeted the Israeli Nevatim airbase with a hypersonic ballistic missile, saying the operation successfully achieved its goal. Yahya Sari, the group's military spokesman, said in a televised statement the missile force of the Yemeni armed forces, affiliated with the group, carried out a military operation targeting the Nevatim airbase, or Nevatim, in the Negev region in southern occupied Palestine with a hypersonic ballistic missile. He explained that the operation successfully achieved its goal. Israeli authorities have not commented on the Yemeni group's statement. They have not. They're trying to formulate a lie to make them look good in this. This is the second attack on the Israeli airbase over a period of 24 hours. The group announced on Saturday morning that it had targeted Nevatim with a Palestine-2 hypersonic ballistic missile, saying the missile successfully hit its target. The Israeli military announced on Sunday that it had intercepted a drone approaching from the east after confirming that it had shot down a missile launched by the Ansar Allah movement from Yemen, which it claimed targeted an airbase in southern Israel. The Army said in a brief statement, the Air Force intercepted a drone that was en route to Israeli territory from the east. No alarms were activated in accordance with established policy. So the Houthis are not going away, but they are getting the shit knocked out of them by the United States. 68 reported killed by U.S. airstrikes on African migrant facility in Yemen. Because that's what the U.S. does. We target civilians. 68 people were killed by a U.S. airstrike on a detention facility for African migrants in Yemen's northwestern Saada province, Yemen's Al Masira TV has reported. Another 47 were injured by the U.S. attack, which hit the facility early Monday morning. Footage and photos of the aftermath of the strike show bodies strewn in the rubble and wounded African migrants being treated at a hospital. A Pentagon official told Reuters that the U.S. military was aware of the reports of civilian casualties, but they didn't really give a shit. We are currently conducting our battle damage assessment and inquiry into these claims, the official said. The Pentagon has shared virtually no details about its bombing campaign in Yemen, which U.S. Central Command acknowledged on Sunday, claiming it was withholding information to preserve operational security. Kind of like national security, right? Everything's done for national security. The strike on the migrant facility is the second deadliest U.S. attack on Yemen since Trump launched his bombing campaign on March 15th. On April 17th, the U.S. bombed the Ras Isa fuel port in Yemen's Red Sea province of Hodeidah, killing 80 civilians, mostly workers, at the port. Authorities in Yemen strongly condemned the U.S. attack on the migrant facility as a war crime, one of many that the U.S. has done. The United States of America did not stop at killing Yemeni citizens and targeting civilian objects in Yemen, but its heinous crimes extended to targeting African migrants who arrived in Yemen in search of safety and stability, Yemen's National Committee for Refugee Affairs said, according to the Saba news agency. They were housed in a shelter center operating under the knowledge and supervision of the international community of the Red Cross and the International Organization for Migration, the committee added. Reuters said that it verified the location of the migrant facility in Saada and that it was the same facility that was targeted by the U.S.-backed Saudi-led coalition in January 2022. According to the Yemen Data Project, the Saudi strike killed 91 civilians. Many African migrants attempt the journey through Yemen looking for work in Saudi Arabia. Saudi border guards have been brutal in their efforts to keep migrants out and have been accused of slaughtering hundreds of Africans on the Saudi-Yemen border. The U.S. bombing campaign in Yemen has taken a huge toll on civilians, but the Houthis, officially known as Ansar Allah, as we told you, remain undeterred and continue to launch attacks on Israel and U.S. warships in the region. Yemeni air defenses have also gotten better at shooting down U.S. MQ-9 Reaper drones, impeding U.S. surveillance efforts. U.S. airstrikes also hit residential areas of Yemen's capital, Sana'a, on Sunday night, killing at least 8 people, including women and children, because that's the theme of the show. Boo. Let's not kill the military. Let's kill everyone else. Hey, that's the U.S. Go MAGA. Yemeni media reported dozens of civilian casualties in the strikes. Houthi military spokesman Yahya Saree said Monday that Yemeni forces responded to the U.S. massacres by launching a drone and missile attack on the U.S. aircraft carrier USS Harry Truman and its accompanying warships. The Yemeni armed forces will persist to target and pursue the aircraft carrier and all enemy warships in the Red and Arabian Seas until the aggression against Yemen is halted. Saree said. The Houthis have maintained they won't end attacks on Israel or their blockade on Israeli-linked shipping unless there's a ceasefire in Gaza, a real ceasefire in Gaza, and an end to the Israeli blockade on the Palestinian territory. But a senior member of Ansar Allah's political bureau has said the Houthis would stop attacks on U.S. warships if the U.S. stopped bombing Yemen, although there's no sign the U.S. is considering the offer. Of course not, because, you know, they're doing it for their girlfriends over there. in Israel. They're that bitch that keeps the thumb on them. Speaking of dumb shit, you know, we got a story about the military budget possibly going up. Well, this is what your military in 2025 is doing. As the U.S. Navy loses an F-18 fighter jet during a Houthi attack in the Red Sea. Now, it wasn't shot down. It wasn't shot down. A U.S. official has told CNN that the U.S. Navy lost an F-18 Super Hornet fighter jet that fell off the aircraft carrier USS Harry Truman in the Red Sea during a Houthi attack on the U.S. warship. It fell off. The Navy said, and those planes ain't cheap. The Navy said in a statement that the $60 million jet was actively under tow in the hangar bay when the move crew lost control of the aircraft. The aircraft and tow tractor were lost overboard. Wow. The Navy said the sailors took immediate action to move clear of the aircraft before it fell overboard, and that one sustained minor injuries in the incident. The U.S. official speaking to CNN said the F-18 fell overboard while the Harry Truman was making a hard turn to avoid a Houthi attack. Earlier in the day, the military spokesman for the Houthis, officially known as Ansar Allah, but they may go back to Houthis since that's kind of a cooler name, announced missile and drone attacks on the Harry Truman and its accompanying warships. The Houthi spokesman said the attacks were in retaliation for the U.S. strike that targeted a migrant detention facility in Sahad, as we told you, killing 68 people. This is the second time. Okay, so the Houthi attack on the Harry Truman marked the second time in the past year that the U.S. lost an F-18 in the Red Sea. In December 2024, the U.S. military announced that it lost the jet in a friendly fire incident in the Red Sea. According to reports at the time, the jet was shot down right after a Houthi missile and drone attack, suggesting it was mistaken for a projectile fired from Yemen. Wow. The U.S. has also lost about 21 MQ-9 Reaper drones to Yemeni air defenses since October 2023. Each MQ-9 costs about $30 million apiece, so that's 21, so that's $60 million. That's $600 million. Okay, which means that the U.S. has lost $630 million worth of drones in a year and a half. The U.S. officials have said the Houthis are getting better at targeting MQ-9s, as they've taken down 7 in recent weeks. While the massive U.S. bombing campaign on Yemen has failed to deter the Houthis, it has taken a significant toll on civilians, because that's what the U.S. does best. Fear, 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 fear. The Houthi leaders have repeatedly vowed they will only stop attacks we told that. And the other thing. So, Houthis, man, the Yemen people, resilient to say the least. And we told you that they're going to bump up they're trying to make the military budget even fatter. This is from Common Dreams. Kilia Grigoris, you was listening while driving into work. That's right. You were driving on the left-hand side of the road, weren't you? Yes, yes. If I ever went to the UK and tried to drive there, I would kill so many people. It would be bad. I'm like, why are you people driving on the road? Oh, it's me. I'm sorry. GOP unveils plan to give $150 billion more to the Pentagon. That's just too fucking high. Congressional Republicans on Sunday released legislation that would pump an additional $150 billion into the Pentagon, a morass of waste and profiteering over the next decade, as part of a sweeping reconciliation package that's also expected to include deep cuts to Medicaid and tax breaks for the wealthy. In other words, status quo. The House Armed Services Committee, a major target of weapons industry lobbying, unveiled the plan for what it called a historic investment of $150 billion to restore America's military capabilities and strengthen our national defense. The panel said the legislation was developed in close conjunction with Senate Republicans and Trumpy, who is separately pursuing a $1 trillion U.S. military budget for the next fiscal year. Doge, where you at, buddy? Where y'all not going to cut shop? Y'all going after poor old people and poor people? You ain't going to go after that budget, that military budget? Anybody who praises Elon Musk is just dumb as shit. The legislation would direct the new Pentagon funding toward a number of initiatives backed by the president, including a Golden Dome, giggity, I almost said golden shower, missile defense system that experts have called a massive boondoggle that could benefit Elon Musk. Of course! The bill, which is scheduled for a committee markup today, also includes $4.5 billion to speed production of the B-21 stealth bomber, a Northrop Grumman-made aircraft capable of delivering nuclear weapons. William Hartung, a senior research fellow at the Quincy Institute for Responsible Statecraft, or QURS, said Sunday that the GOP's proposed Pentagon spending increase is a glaring example of misplaced priorities. Indeed. This is no time to throw more money at a weapons manufacturing base that is already maxed out, said Hartung. Any additional money pumped into this system is likely to be wasted. The money that's in there now is being wasted. The only beneficiaries will be weapons contractors who will be glad to accept the new funds, whether they can use them effectively or not. I was going to include the story I read about this tank that they developed, and now they can't use the tank, and they just wasted all this money on that, too. Unbelievable. Well, believable at this point. Given that the Pentagon and its contractor network are having a hard time spending existing funds as well, Hartung added, Congress should think twice before sending more taxpayer money their way. Well, at least more, public funds. I won't say it was taxpayer money. The Republican push for additional Pentagon funding comes as Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth is facing calls to resign for sharing plans for a U.S. military attack on Yemen in at least 2 private group chats. Of course, earlier this month, Hegseth endorsed Trump's push for a $1 trillion U.S. military budget, which would mark the highest level of spending since the Second World War. I'm assuming that's adjusted for inflation. But yeah, trillion. But we can't get rid of student debt. We can't feed the homeless or house the homeless. We can't feed starving people. We can't give anybody, proper medical care without bankrupting them. But military budget, baby. Meanwhile, back here at home, Trump targets sanctuary cities' immigration policy in executive order, which is probably going to go to the courts and probably get shot down. It's going to be a complete waste of time. I love wasting time. I love wasting all you motherfuckers' time. You all suck. Trump signed an executive order Monday directing the Attorney General and the Secretary of Homeland Security to compile a list. A list. The old list. Papers, please. You know what I'm saying. Within 1 month of cities and states that are not complying with federal immigration laws, a White House official announced. This executive order on immigration escalates Trump's ongoing efforts to pressure sanctuary jurisdictions that decline to fully cooperate with federal immigration authorities. Last week, a federal judge blocked the Trump administration from withholding federal funding from over a dozen sanctuary cities and states that refused to assist in the administration's strict immigration enforcement policies. Trump plans to sign an executive order escalating his battle against Democratic-led states and cities that don't fully cooperate with federal immigration authorities, White House officials said. The Trump sanctuary cities executive order was first reported by the Wall Street Journal. A federal judge ruled that Trump's administration deported a 2-year-old citizen without due 2 years old! Without due process, highlighting ongoing tensions between the White House's immigration policies and the judiciary as the child's father seeks her return. 2 years old. U.S. District Judge Terry Doughty in Monroe, Louisiana, stated that the girl, identified as VML in court documents, was deported alongside her mother. It's illegal and unconstitutional to deport, detain for deportation, or recommend deportation of a U.S. citizen, the judge expressed. Within his first 100 days in office, Trump has moved aggressively to strip legal immigration status from hundreds of thousands enlarging the pool of those eligible for deportation. This move is part of his broader strategy to increase removals to record levels. The Republican president has also sought to terminate humanitarian legal entry programs initiated by his Democratic predecessor and has revoked visas from thousands of students involved in protests or minor criminal incidents, including traffic violations. While Americans remain divided on Trump's immigration policy, a Reuters Ipsos poll conducted in mid-April revealed that 45% of respondents approved of his immigration approach, higher than his approval on other significant issues. But still, that 45% is lower than it was earlier. I think it was over 50% not too long ago. I remember seeing numbers like that. So, meanwhile, with all this Trump fuckery that's going on, U.S. scientists are saying, what? You're going to cut my funding? Wait, what? You're going to cut? Well, you're going to pack up the bags and head on out, just like, David Banner, whenever he'd fuck up something in the Incredible Hulk and, he's at the end of the episode with the thumb out, doon, doo, doo, doon, doon, doo, doo, doo. As global race to attract U.S. scientists intensifies amid Trump fund cuts. Oh, these scientists, they don't know anything. They can't even make a cheeseburger. I don't know what that came from. Sometimes you just shouldn't freestyle. The global competition to attract U.S. researchers is intensifying as Trump's deep cuts to science funding and federal agencies continue to destabilize the country's research environment. That's according to Bloomberg. Countries including Canada, France, Germany, Denmark, Norway, and Australia are offering enhanced research funding, streamlined immigration processes, and competitive relocation packages, giggity, to attract scientists facing growing uncertainty in the United States. A March survey by Nature revealed that over 75% of 1,200 U.S. scientists surveyed are now considering leaving the country. 75%. With Europe and Canada ranking among their top destinations. Norway's Minister of Research and Higher Education, Sigrun Asland, stated academic freedom is under pressure in the U.S., and it is in an unpredictable situation for many researchers in what has been the world's leading research nation for many decades. Yeah, people used to come to America for opportunities and stuff like that. And now it's just a reverse. These people are like, fuck this shit. Fuck this third world country. The Trump administration has suspended key federally funded research programs and implemented widespread job cuts under a government-wide austerity campaign led by shitface Elon Musk. Court orders have temporarily halted these layoffs, reinstating many federal employees, including scientists, but further reductions are expected. Stricter immigration policies and disputes over scholarly independence have further fueled instability. Norway has introduced a $100 million kroner, that's $9.6 million fund, to attract top international researchers, a move fast-tracked in response to the latest U.S. funding reductions. Asland emphasized Norway's readiness to support displaced scientists as fast as possible. Australia's Academy of Science has launched a global talent attraction program aimed at U.S. researchers. I think they have a TV show competition, too. They got to sing and dance and stuff like that. Aimed at U.S. researchers and returning Australian scientists. The program's president, Chenupati Jagadish, said it's specifically designed to support those affected by the U.S. funding government. Yeah, so you want science in the United States, you better get it now, because it's about to, they're about to make like a baby and head out. You know what I'm saying? Meanwhile, up in Canada, this happened over the weekend. Prosecutors charged Vancouver man with murder for ramming attack. This is something similar that happened in New York City on the West Side Highway a few years ago. Canadian prosecutors have charged 30-year-old Vancouver resident Kaiji Adam Lowe with murder following a tragic Vancouver festival attack that left at least 11 people dead and dozens injured. The incident occurred when a Lowe rammed an SUV into a crowd at a Filipino community festival in Vancouver, targeting attendees between 5 and 65, according to local police. Lowe faces 8 counts of second-degree murder with more charges expected, the Vancouver police stated on Sunday. He appeared in court just hours after his arrest at the scene of the attack on Saturday evening. Court documents reviewed by Reuters showed no recorded plea from Lowe. It is terrible. Authorities noted that Lowe had a significant history of interactions with mental health services. This is the darkest day in our city's history, Vancouver Interim Chief Constable Steve Rye told reporters during a Sunday press conference. Yeah, just, boy, you hate to see something like that anyway, right? I mean, it's just, and then, you have the people being mowed down New Year's Eve in New Orleans. It's we need to put the human back in humanity, folks. At least get some people some fucking mental health help, but I don't know if that's going to happen. Meanwhile, they had elections up in Canada. I bet you didn't know that. If you did, you do now. Well, if you didn't, you do now. So Mark Carney's Liberal Party is expected to win enough seats in the House of Commons to form a government in Canada. However, they're still short of the majority they wanted in the House of Commons. For now, Carney is set to remain Prime Minister, having only assumed the role in early March following Justin Trudeau's resignation. His main rival, Conservative leader Pierre Poilievre, is projected to have lost his own seat, as has Jagmeet Singh, leader of the NDP. Carney's Liberals are leading in 168 seats, but would need 172 for a majority. The Conservatives are set to remain in opposition as the second largest party and are leading in 144 seats, with 99% of polls having reported results. Bloc Québécois is leading in 23 seats and only runs candidates in the province of Quebec. The NDP is leading in 7 seats and the Green Party in 1. Both the Liberals and Conservatives have seen a significant rise in their share of the national vote compared with 4 years ago. Increased support for Canada's 2 largest parties has come at the expense of smaller parties, particularly the New Democratic Party, the NDP, whose share of the popular vote is down by around 12 percentage points. Yeah, because that guy Singh, he didn't do anything for people. That's what happens when you say you're going to help people and you don't. The people are going to think, wow, you're a fucking liar, aren't you? The increased support for the Conservatives was not enough to save Mr. Poilievre, who is projected to have lost his own seat in Carleton, Ontario. The 45-year-old had promised a return to common sense politics. Opinion polls at the start of the year had the Conservatives over 20 percentage points ahead of the Liberals. That was only a few months ago. But after the resignation of former Liberal Prime Minister Justin Trudeau and the arrival of new Prime Minister Mark Carney and the tariffs announced by the U.S. President Donald Trump, that lead evaporated. In his own seat, Mr. Poilievre had 90 opponents, mostly independent candidates linked to a group calling for electoral reform. The NDP's leader, Jagmeet Singh, also lost his own seat in the House of Commons and came third behind the Liberal and Conservative candidates. Canada has a first-past-the-post electoral system. The candidate who gets the most votes in each electoral district, or riding as they call them, wins that seat and becomes a member of Parliament. One of the other things to become a member of Parliament is you got to be funky, and you have to make your funk the P-funk. The Liberals and the Conservatives have dominated the popular vote, with both parties receiving more than 40% each of the ballots counted across Canada so far. This has them on track to win a combined 90% of seats. Oh, yes, the duopoly comes to Canada. The NDP has received just over 6% of the total vote declared so far, but this translates to just 2% of seats in the House of Commons. Bloc Québécois has just over 6% of the vote and a similar share of seats. That's where kind of the map there. The Liberals are on course to win the most seats in the key provinces of Ontario and Quebec, which account for 200 of Canada's 343 electoral districts. or riders, or ridings, whatever they call them. The Conservatives are ahead in Alberta, while there is little to choose between the two main parties in British Columbia. One of the most closely watched areas was around Toronto. The 905 are places that all share the same telephone code. While the Liberals won in most of Toronto, including a seat they lost in a by-election last year, the Conservatives were able to flip some of the ridings in the surrounding regions. The NDP also lost a seat, Hamilton Centre, that they'd held for over 20 years. About 2/3 of registered electors voted, according to the preliminary results from Elections Canada. This is up on the last election. It's from the BBC. You foreigners know what I'm talking about. Some of this English is kind of fucked up. This is up from the last election in 2021 and similar to 2015 and 2019. More than 7 million Canadians cast their ballots in advance, setting a new record for early voter turnout, Elections Canada said. So, yeah, Carney is going to stay the Prime Minister of Canada. That Poilievre guy, I've seen video of him, and he was basically just baby Trump, right? No poutine party. I wish. Poilievre cracker. Yeah, so the conservative guy was pretty much, he was bragging, he's talking about all his crowd, the people at his rallies and stuff like that. And not only did he lose the prime minister job, he lost his own fucking seat. I bet you he doesn't like Trump now. If he hated him before, he really hates him now. Y'all might have heard about the power out in Spain and Portugal. Well, apparently it's back on. Spain and Portugal plugged back in following unexplained power outage. Electricity supply has been restored in most of Spain and Portugal after a huge blackout left millions of households in the dark. More than 99% of power networks in Spain were restored by Tuesday morning, and most had stabilized in Portugal, according to the country's respective power operators, following Monday's outage that stranded people in buildings, elevators, and public transit and cut access to phones and the internet. That's just a little bit of a power outage, folks. That's two countries. Imagine if like a coronal mass ejection hit this planet, right? And fried all the satellites, fried all the electronics, and the whole world went dark. That'd be some bad. That's when The Purge happens. That's when that movie The Purge becomes a documentary. Authorities in the Iberian Peninsula have yet to explain what caused the sweeping power cut. Spain's electricity grid operator Red Electrica said it was able to supply virtually all of the country's electricity demand on Tuesday morning. Portugal's REN said by late Monday it had all of the country's 89 power substations back up and running. So now that it's repaired, they can detail the cause of the outage. Well, yeah, I guess so. Wes, in the Spanish capital, Madrid, loud cheers erupted overnight as the power returned. Al Jazeera's Step Vasson reported, but many people were still stranded in the stations because the trains were not moving. Madrid's metro system said 80% of the trains would be operating again during rush hour on Tuesday morning. In Portugal, the majority of the nation's 6.5 million households had their power restored overnight, according to REN. Yeah, so pretty wild about the power going out there. You would think they would know by now if they're restoring the power now. You would think they would know what actually caused the power outage. So, what is it? I don't know if you're joking or not. Spain had recently suspended an arms deal with Israel. Well, what about Portugal? Did Portugal do the same thing too? Meanwhile, I told you the Pope is nope at this point, 6 feet under. They keep the body. The Vatican keeps the Pope's body because the body belongs to the Vatican after they die. That's some wild shit. Rome and the world bid farewell to Pope Francis with massive funeral and humble burial. Presidents, royalty, and simple mourners bade farewell to Pope Francis on Saturday at a solemn funeral ceremony where a cardinal appealed for the pontiff's legacy of caring for migrants, the downtrodden, and the environment to be kept alive. President Trump, who had clashed with the Pope on those issues, sat with the rows of foreign dignitaries on one side of Francis's coffin in the vast St. Peter's Square. The other side sat cardinals who will pick Francis' successor at a conclave next month, deciding if the new pope should continue with the late pontiff's push for a more open church or cede to conservatives who want to return a more traditional papacy. If they're going to choose between new pope and classic pope, I would go classic pope because it definitely tastes better. And you know that was all a scam too, just to make Coke more money, right? New Coke, they were never serious about New Coke. The Argentine Pope, who reigned for 12 years, died at the age of 88 last Monday after suffering a stroke. Rich in human warmth and deeply sensitive to today's challenges, Pope Francis truly shared the anxiety, sufferings, and hopes of this time, said Italian Cardinal Giovanni Battista Re, who presided over the funeral mass. In spiritual language, the 91-year-old Ray gave a simple message: there was no going back. Well, not for Francis. Going back to the dirt, I guess. The first pontiff from Latin America had been attentive to the signs of the times and what the Holy Spirit was awakening in the church, he said. Francis repeatedly called for an end to the conflict during his papacy. His funeral provided an opportunity for Trump, who's pushing for a deal to end Russia's war with Ukraine, to meet with Zelensky inside St. Peter's Basilica. Applause rang out as Francis's coffin, inlaid with a large cross, was brought out of the basilica and into the sun-filled square by 14 gloved pallbearers at the start of the Mass. Why would people applaud at a funeral? That's weird. Yay, he's dead! The Vatican estimated more than 250,000 people attended the ceremony, cramming the square and the roads around. The crowds clapped loudly again at the end of the service when the ushers picked up the casket and tilted it slightly so more people could see. Aerial views of the Vatican showed a patchwork of colors: black from the dark garb of the world's leaders, red from the vestments of some 250 cardinals, the purple worn by some of the 400 bishops, and the white worn by 4,000 attending priests. After the funeral, as the great bells of St. Peter's pealed in the morning, the coffin was placed on an open-topped Pope-mobile. Remember the Pope-mobile? And driven through the heart of Rome to St. Mary Major Basilica. Francis, who shunned much of the pomp and privilege of the papacy — I think he drove like a Honda Civic or some shit like that — had asked to be buried there rather than in St. Peter's, the first time a pope had been laid to rest outside the Vatican in more than a century. The burial itself was conducted in private. The Pope-mobile left the Vatican from the Perugino Gate, a side entrance just yards away from the Santa Marta guest house where Francis had chosen to live instead of the ornate Renaissance apartments in the Papal Palace. Crowds estimated by police as numbering some 150,000 lined the 3.4-mile route to St. Mary Major. The scene resembled many Pope-mobile rides Francis took in his 47 trips to all corners of the world. Some in the crowd waved signs and others threw flowers towards the casket. They shouted, "Viva il Papa," "Long live the Pope," and "Ciao Francesco," "Goodbye Francis," as the procession made its way around Rome's ancient monuments, including the Colosseum. Last time, and then this is, that's Trump talking about thing. Francis, the first non-European pope for almost 13 centuries, battled to reshape the church, siding with the poor and marginalized while challenging wealthy nations to help migrants and reverse climate change. To which they responded, "Fuck off, Popey." Francis left everyone a wonderful testimony of humanity, of a holy life, and of universal fatherhood, said a formal summary of his papacy written in Latin and placed next to his body. Traditionalists pushed back at his efforts to make the church more transparent, while his pleas for an end to conflict, divisions, and rampant capitalism often fell on deaf ears, right? The Pope carried his desire for greater simplicity into his funeral, having rewritten the elaborate book-long funeral rites used previously, Basically, you just boiled it down to, he did. Peace. He also opted to forego a papal tradition of 3 interlocking caskets made of cypress, lead, and oak. Instead, he was placed in a single zinc-lined wooden coffin. His tomb had just Franciscus, his name in Latin, inscribed on the top. A reproduction of the simple iron-plated cross he used to wear around his neck hangs above the marble slab. Attention will now switch to who might succeed him. The secretive conclave is unlikely to begin before May 6th and might not start for several days after that, giving cardinals time to hold regular meetings beforehand to sum each other up and assess the state of the church beset by financial problems and ideological divisions. Yeah, so Pope laid to rest. R.I.P. Popey. Hope the other side's good for you there, pal. Finally, as we mentioned, this is the 80th, this year is the 80th anniversary of the end of World War II. It's also the 80th anniversary that the first time in history, one country nuked another country, not once, but twice. Fun story about World War II. They had told Japan, we're going to bomb you every day. Until you surrender. But they only had 2 bombs, so they were bluffing. And then Japan said, fuck it, we can't afford to call the bluff. So Japan launches drive to document Hiroshima, Nagasaki atomic bomb survivors' horrific experiences. Japanese survivors of the U.S. atomic bombings of those cities have begun sharing their horrific experiences as this year marks the 80th anniversary of the nuclear attacks, Chiji Press reported Monday. Japan's welfare ministry this month launched a nationwide effort to collect testimonies from approximately 106,000 remaining survivors, known as the Hibakusha of the 1945 bombings. It is the first time in 30 years that the government has requested the cooperation of all living survivors for testimony collection. Prefectural governments distribute leaflets asking survivors to provide written accounts. The ministry is also gathering portraits of deceased survivors, clothing that was exposed to the atomic blast, and photographs taken during the bombing. The collected materials will be stored at the National Peace Memorial Hall for atomic bomb victims in Hiroshima, or Hiroshima, however you want to say it. I think both are correct. And Nagasaki. With consent from owners or families, some of the items will be displayed to the public. Japan's previous full-scale effort to collect survivor accounts occurred in 1995, when there were about 320 living survivors. Additional testimony collections were conducted from randomly selected people in 2005 and 2015. On August 6, 1945, the U.S. dropped the first atomic bomb on Hiroshima, killing an estimated 140,000 people. A second bomb was dropped on Nagasaki 3 days later, resulting in about 70,000 additional deaths. It's over 210,000 initial deaths. Japan surrendered on August 15th, bringing the end to World War II. Because, the Germans had already surrendered in Europe, I believe, so Europe was all wrapped up. It was Japan that was the last holdout. They had talked about doing a ground invasion, but instead of that, they opted to basically nuke them from space. Airspace, that is. Earlier this year, Nihon Hidankyo, the Japanese atomic bomb survivors organization that won the Nobel Peace Prize last year, urged the government to attend a United Nations meeting on the Treaty on the Prohibition of Nuclear Weapons as an observer. Japan chose not to participate in the meeting held March 3rd through 7th at UN headquarters in New York. And 80 years, maybe we're going to do it again. Maybe not us. Maybe Israel's going to nuke somebody because, they have nukes. So we should get rid of nukes, but we can't get rid of nukes in some countries because as long as the U.S. has nukes and as Israel has nukes, the world isn't safe. Sorry. It's kind of a thing. So That's your news roundup. Time to get to the fuckery that we call Propaganda Watch. You know it, buddy.
The sharing of biased and
False news has become all too common on social media.
Checking facts first.
Unfortunately, some members are using those platforms to push their own personal bias and agenda to control exactly what people think. And this is extremely dangerous to our democracy.
My name is Bondi. Pam Bondi. Bondi shreds Biden-era protections for journalists as Trump White House hunts leakers. Dun, 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 dun. So basically, they're chasing after old people with depends who've left a pee trail. No, not those leakers. U.S. Attorney General Pam Bondi has scrapped a Biden-era policy that sharply restricted the Justice Department's ability to seize journalists' records and force them to testify in leak investigations, an alarming move that press freedom advocates say carries dire implications for reporters and whistleblowers. Well, yeah, because they don't want whistleblowers. Nobody. And the Democrats don't either. See Obama there. In an internal memo first reported Friday by CBS News, Bondi wrote that the Justice Department will not tolerate unauthorized disclosures that undermine President Trump's policies, victimize government agencies, and cause harm to the American people. The perpetrators of these leaks aid our foreign adversaries by spilling sensitive and sometimes classified information onto the internet. The damage is significant and irreversible, Bondi continued. Accountability, including criminal prosecutions, is necessary to set a new course. As part of a renewed crackdown on leaks, Bondi said she's issuing revised Justice Department regulations stating that media outlets must answer subpoenas related to efforts to uncover sources of unauthorized disclosures within the federal government. The policy contemplates the use of subpoenas, court orders, and search warrants to compel production of information and testimony by and relating to members of the news media, subject to the Privacy Protection Act 42 U.S.C. 2000 AA, whatever that little symbol is, I don't know what that is, and the approval of the department's leadership in some instances, the memo stated. The Attorney General must also approve efforts to question or arrest members of the news media. Ha ha! Let's get them! Some of the most consequential reporting in U.S. history, from Watergate to warrantless wiretapping after 9/11, was and continues to be made possible because reporters have been able to protect the identities of confidential sources. Yeah. The Freedom of the Press Foundation, the FPF, a group co-founded by the late Daniel Ellsberg, who leaked classified documents that came to be known as the Pentagon Papers, noted in a statement that Bondi's memo followed news that Director of National Intelligence Tulsi Gabbard asked the Department of Justice to investigate recent leaks to reporters. Oh, Tulsi, each day you just become more and more shitty. Seth Stern, FPF's advocacy director, said Bondi's move was made possible by lawmakers' failure to pass the Press Act. Bipartisan legislation would have codified into law rules prohibiting the federal government from forcing journalists or telecom companies from disclosing information about their sources. Every Democrat who put the Press Act on the back burner when they had the opportunity to pass a bipartisan bill codifying journalist source confidentiality should be ashamed, said Stern. Everyone predicted this would happen in a second Trump administration, yet politicians in a position to prevent it prioritized empty rhetoric over putting up a meaningful fight. That is basically the Democratic Party in a nutshell, right? All talk, no action. And the actions that they do provide not so good. Because of them, Stern added, a president who threatens journalists with prison rape for protecting their sources and says reporting critically on his administration should be illegal can and almost certainly will abuse the legal system to investigate and prosecute his critics and the journalists they talk to. After his victory in the 2024 presidential election, Trump instructed Republicans to block the Press Act, writing on his social media platform, "Republicans must kill this bill." Since the start of his second term, Trump has launched what Reporters Without Borders, RSF, characterized as a monumental assault on press freedom, including by engaging in illegal intimidation against media outlets. When you step back and look at the whole picture, the pattern of blows to press freedom is quite clear. Clayton Weimers, executive director of RSF North America, said late last week, RSF refuses to accept this massive attack on press freedom as the new normal. We will continue to call out these assaults against the press and use every means at our disposal to fight back against them. We urge every American who values press freedom to do the same. Earlier this month, the Committee to Protect Journalists issued a safety advisory to journalists planning to visit the U.S., warning journalists who are at high risk of being detained at the border to consider leaving their personal and or work devices at home and instead carry separate devices and a new SIM card. Bruce Brown, president of the Reporters Committee for Freedom of the Press, said in a statement following Bondi's memo that strong protections for journalists serve the American public by safeguarding the free flow of information. Some of the most consequential reporting in U.S. history, from Watergate to warrantless wiretapping after 9/11, was and continues to be made possible because reporters have been able to protect the identities of confidential sources and uncover and report stories that matter to people across the political spectrum, Brown said. Okay, and then that's some other stuff there too. So, silence! You keep your fucking mouth shut. You shut your yapper about Trumpy. That's what they're basically saying. Meanwhile, Aquaman's up in this bitch. Rubio silences remaining criticism of Israel at the State Department. There he is. Oh, look at him. You know what it looks like? This looks like Rubio is giving him a hand job. It's like he's looking down, looking at his handiwork, and he's like, yes, Aquaman, pleasure me. And he's like, boop, 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 circles coming out of his head. U.S. Secretary of State Aquaman has proposed a major overhaul of the State Department targeting the Bureau of Democracy, Human Rights, and Labor, which he claims has become a platform for left-wing activists pushing for an arms embargo on Israel. According to The Intercept, he plans to rename, downsize, and relocate the Bureau within the department. Even Israel's toughest critics in Congress haven't called for a full arms embargo, focusing instead on blocking specific weapons linked to civilian harm. That means you, Bernie. Bernie hasn't called for a full arms embargo. My good friend Joe. Advocates warn Aquaman's proposal signals an effort to silence one of the few remaining forums for raising such concerns within the State Department. This anti-Israel stuff is so deeply incorrect, said Charles Blaha. His last name should be Blah Blah. Who served at this anti-Israel stuff is so deeply incorrect. Who served as director of the Human Rights Bureau's Office of Security and Human Rights from 2016 until his 2023 retirement. The tendency in the department is exactly the opposite. The department is pro-Israel to the point of overlooking gross violations of human rights. The department closes its eyes to it. He's right about that. The Bureau played a key role in arguing for the suspension of U.S. arms shipments to Israel, including 2,000-pound bombs used in Gaza. Days after the October 7th Alaska flood and Israel's bombardment of Palestinian civilians, longtime State Department staffer Josh Paul left his post in the Bureau of Political Military Affairs in protest of continued arms shipments to Israel. He was interviewed by The Intercept on Wednesday, stating that the Bureau certainly had a role in arguing for that suspension. These are tools of foreign policy, so it's absolutely appropriate when a partner is acting in a way that is contrary to U.S. interests, that is contrary to U.S. and international law, that arms transfer should be suspended as a point of leverage, he said. The Bureau is also known for its critical human rights reports and enforcement of laws restricting aid to abusive military units and has faced backlash from Israeli leaders. Drawing on sources like Amnesty International and Human Rights Watch, the Bureau was responsible for producing annual reports critical of Israel, including the latest under the Biden administration, which cited credible reports of arbitrary or unlawful killings, including extrajudicial killings, enforced disappearance, and torture or cruel, inhumane, or degrading treatment or punishment by government officials. NPR reported last week that the State Department plans to scale down those congressionally mandated human rights reports. Despite decades of precedent, the reports, which are meant to inform congressional decisions on foreign aid allocations and security assistance, will no longer call governments out for such things as denying freedom of movement and peaceful assembly. In December last year, Human Rights Watch released a report accusing Israel of committing acts of genocide in the Gaza Strip by targeting water infrastructure and cutting off supplies to civilians, urging the international community to impose targeted sanctions on the occupation regime. The government be like, shh, don't be talking shit about us or about our buddies over there. What else we got here? So meanwhile, in New York City mayor investigating pro-Israeli mob. This is interesting that the mayor is actually investigating a pro-Israeli mob after they attacked women. Right? There's that fuckhead right there, that Ben Gvir motherfucker. New York City Mayor Eric Adams announced on Sunday he has launched an investigation into 2 physical attacks by a pro-Israeli mob that took place as Israel's far-right National Security Minister Itamar Ben-Gvir visited a city neighborhood last week. The NYPD is investigating a series of incidents stemming from clashing protests on Thursday that began when a group of anti-Israel protesters surrounded the Chabad Lubavitch World Headquarters, a Jewish house of worship, in Brooklyn. Adams wrote on the tweeters referencing the only venue that agreed to host Ben-Gvir in Crown Heights, Brooklyn, and New York City borough. Wow, I'm surprised Crown Heights did that too. I guess there's, Initial reports indicate that one female protester was isolated from her group, harassed by counter-protesters, and suffered injuries. In another incident, a second woman was surrounded and subjected to vile threatening by counter-protesters, he wrote. Adams did not specify that the attacks were from a pro-Israel crowd and repeatedly called them counter-protesters because, you can't call them out. Tell them the truth. What are you doing? While one arrest was made and several summonses issued, we are actively working to identify additional individuals involved in these specific incidents. Videos shared online show a female protester having her Palestinian flag snatched away before she is violently shoved to the side. Later videos show her on the ground as she bleeds from the head. Police did not appear to intervene. Gee, I wonder why. When you're trained by the IDF, of course, you're not going to intervene with that. Some witnesses posting on social media said she was attacked with a brick. The woman reportedly took to Instagram where she identified herself as an anti-Zionist Jew with an Israeli passport as she displayed the injuries to her face. The only thing that gives me more joy is that while all the Zios were celebrating and laughing at me, I'm over here thinking, y'all hit a Jew with a damn Israeli passport. Great job, she wrote. And there she is right there. Yeah. In addition to being repeatedly kicked in the back by the mob of pro-Israeli, this is from Dropsite, pro-Israeli supporters chanting death to Arabs. The video shows one man heaving a full garbage can into the woman's legs, knocking her off balance. Moments later, another hurls a traffic cone straight into her. I'm not going to show that, but if you want to, it looks like that's on the Twitters if you want to check that out, but we don't do violence on here, and we already know that there's violence going on. The second female referenced by Adams turned out to be a passerby who lives in the neighborhood, according to a report in the Associated Press. Which is, let me go ahead and get to that. So a mob chased a Brooklyn woman after mistaking her for a protester at a speech by Israeli Security Ministry. So they were just going after everybody, and the cops were just like, you can only do so much before public outcry says, look, motherfucker, you going to investigate these people or what? Okay. And it's probably a paper investigation. They're not going to do anything to these people. A Brooklyn woman said she feared for her life as she was chased, kicked, spit at, and pelted with objects by a mob of Orthodox Jewish men who mistook her as a participant in a protest against Israel's far-right security minister. The assault, recorded by a bystander, unfolded Thursday near the global headquarters of the Chabad Lubavitch movement in Crown Heights, where an appearance by the devil himself set off clashes between pro-Palestinian activists and members of the neighborhood's large Orthodox Jewish community. A woman, a neighborhood resident in her 30s, told the AP she learned of the protest after hearing police helicopters over her apartment. She walked over to investigate around 10:30 p.m., but by then the protest had mostly dispersed. Not wanting to be filmed, she covered her face with a scarf. As soon as I pulled up my scarf, a group of 100 men came over immediately and encircled me, said the woman, who spoke to the AP on the condition of anonymity because she feared for her safety. They were shouting at me, threatening to rape me, chanting death to Arabs. I thought the police would protect me from the mob, but they did nothing to intervene. Good old NYPD. NYPD, not your problem, Dick. As the chants grew in intensity, a lone police officer tried to escort her to safety. They were followed for blocks by hundreds of men and boys jeering in Hebrew and English. I'm sorry, New York has turned into a fucking toilet. I lived there for 15 years. I should know. Video shows two of the men kicking her in the back, another hurling a traffic cone into her head, and a fourth pushing a trash can into her, as we was telling you. This is America, one of the men can be heard saying. We got Israel. We got an army now. At one point, she and the police officer were nearly cornered against a building, the video shows. I felt sheer terror, the woman recalled. I realized at that point I couldn't lead this mob of men to my home. I had nowhere to go. I didn't know what to do. I was just terrified. After several blocks, the officer hustled the woman onto a police vehicle, prompting one man to yell, "Get her!" The crowd erupted in cheers as she was driven away. The woman, a lifelong New Yorker, said she was left with bruises and mentally shaken by the episode, which she said police should investigate as an act of hate. I'm afraid to move around the neighborhood where I've lived for a decade, she told the AP. It doesn't seem like anyone in any position of power really cares. A police spokesperson said one person was arrested and 5 others were issued summons. Ooh, summons. Following the demonstration, but did not say whether anyone involved in assaulting the woman was charged. And then it goes on to say Adams, the mayor, are investigating a series of incidents. He said police had spoken to a different woman on the pro-Palestinian side of the protest who suffered injuries after she was harassed by counter-protesters. Photos shared online showed that the woman with blood streaming down her face. We showed you that picture. Let me be clear, none of this is acceptable. In fact, it's despicable, Adams added. New York City will always be a place where people can peacefully protest. I can't believe he actually said that to people. Like, what? Have you not seen protests in New York City? They got police cars running people down, for Christ's sake. Oh, my God. Will always be a place where people can peacefully protest, but we will not tolerate violence, trespassing, menacing, or threatening. No, that we leave that up to the police. The protest was one of several in recent days against Ben-Gvir, an ultranationalist settler leader who is embarking on his first U.S. state visit since joining Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu's cabinet 3 years ago. Previously convicted in Israel of racist incitement and support for a terrorist group, he has called on his supporters to confront Palestinians and assert Jewish power. The protest against Ben-Gvir's Brooklyn appearance generated condemnations from some Jewish groups who accused participants of targeting a religious site. Yeah, right. The neighborhood around Chabad headquarters was also the site of the 1991 Crown Heights riot, in which black residents, outraged by a boy's death in a crash involving a rabbi's motorcade, attacked Jews, homes, and businesses for 3 days. A Chabad Lubavitch spokesman, Rabbi Moti Seligson, denounced both the anti-Ben-Gvir protesters and the mob that chased the woman. The violent provocateurs who called for the genocide of Jews in support of terrorists and terrorism outside a synagogue in a Jewish neighborhood where some of the worst anti-Semitic violence in American history was perpetrated, where many residents share deep bonds with the victims of October 7th, did so in order to intimidate, provoke, and instill fear, Seligson said. We condemn the crude language and violence of the small breakaway group of young people. Small breakaway group. There was like hundreds. Such actions are entirely unacceptable and wholly antithetical to the Torah's values. The fact that a possibly uninvolved bystander got pulled into the melee further underscores the point, he said. Right. New York, cesspool. So, yeah, you heard about the Trump arresting a judge, right? So hundreds rally in Milwaukee against Trump administration's unprecedented arrest of judge. Hundreds of people rallied in Wisconsin's largest city on Saturday to protest the Trump administration's arrest of Milwaukee County Circuit Judge Hannah Dugan on what critics called baseless charges of felony obstruction after she allegedly helped an undocumented immigrant evade arrest during an appearance in her courtroom. FBI agents arrested Dugan on Friday following an investigation accusing her of escorting an undocumented man and his attorney through her courtroom's jury door after learning that ICE agents showed up to arrest him. Protesters chanted slogans including "No ICE," "No KKK," "No Fascist USA," and "No hate, no fear, immigrants are welcome here." They held signs with messages like "Liberty and Justice for All" and "Resist Fascism." So there's the thing right there. Oh, no, what are you doing? Don't. Nope. Sorry about that. Go back. I knew he was going to do that too. You son of a bitch. All right. Okay. So I guess no video. I've never, I can let's put that away. Okay. I've never heard of a state court judge being arrested by the federal government because she chose to control her own courtroom. This is unprecedented. Sarah Dottie, an immigration attorney who traveled more than 90 miles from Rockford, Illinois to attend the demonstration outside the FBI field office in Milwaukee, told the Milwaukee Journal-Sentinel. Wisconsin State Representative Ryan Clancy told the crowd the judiciary acts as a check to unchecked executive power and functioning democracies do not lock up judges. I hope that we can all be as brave as Judge Dugan was, Clancy added. Janan Najib, one of the leaders of the Wisconsin Coalition for Justice in Palestine, told rally-goers, "The courtroom is not a hunting ground for ICE. It's a sanctuary. When our government turns our courtrooms into traps, they are betraying the very laws that they claim to defend." And then some of the protesters there in that picture there. That looks like Hugh Jackman. I don't think that's Hugh Jackman. So, Coalition for Humane Immigrant Rights Director Angelica Salas said in a statement that in an unprecedented move against members of the judicial branch, the Trump administration is exercising authoritarianism to degrees that should alarm us all. We reject this lawless escalation against an immigration judge who appears to be showing a common sense and humane approach to immigrants and stands for due process for all and against wanton disregard for our Constitution, Salas added. Critics have called Dugan's arrest part and parcel of Donald Trump's attacks on immigrants, the nation's system of checks and balances, and the rule of law. The Trump administration deserves zero benefit of the down here. It has evinced utter contempt for due process and the rule of law since Inauguration Day, Ryan Cooper, managing editor of the American Prospect, wrote on Friday. It has deported numerous legal residents, most notably Kilmar Abrego Garcia, to an El Salvador torture dungeon and is openly disobeying a 9-0 Supreme Court decision to bring him back. The ongoing mass layoffs of federal workers and outright dismantling of legislatively mandated agencies being carried out by Elon Musk and Doge is blatantly unconstitutional, Cooper added, referring to the Department of Government Efficiency, or dog shit. Among those pushing back against Dugan's arrest are Wisconsin Circuit Judge Monica Isham, who wrote in an email to other judges, "Enough is enough. I no longer feel protected or respected as a judge in this administration. If there is no guidance for us and no support for us, I will refuse to hold court." I think that's part of what these arrests or this arrest is about, is scaring judges. All right. A judge in Sawyer County, this is from Wisconsin right now on the tweeters. A judge in Sawyer County, Wisconsin, Monica Isham, is threatening not to hold court because of Hannah Dugan's arrest. She also wrote that she has no intention of allowing anyone to be taken out of my courtroom by ICE and sent to a concentration camp, and she is threatening to, so there's her thing right there. I have no intention of allowing anyone to be taken out of my courtroom, especially without due process, as both of the constitutions we swore to support require, Isham added. He was talking about the state constitution, too, or she was. If this costs me my job or gets me arrested, then at least I know I did the right thing. Yeah, you did the right thing, and you're going to get unemployed or you're going to be sent to jail because these motherfuckers are bat shit. So with India and Pakistan going at it, India has banned Pakistani channels in a social media crackdown. India launched a sweeping crackdown on social media Monday, banning more than a dozen Pakistani YouTube channels for allegedly spreading provocative content following an attack in Kashmir. That was an attack on tourists there, I believe. The banned platforms include the YouTube channels of Pakistani news outlets Dawn, Sama TV, ARY News, Bowl News, Raftar, Geo News, and Suno News. The sites were blocked in India on Monday with a message reading it was due to an order from the government related to national security or public order. National security, there it is. The Press Trust of India news agency, which listed 16 channels, cited a government statement saying they were blocked for disseminating provocative and communally sensitive content, false and misleading narratives, and misinformation against India. The ban follows the deadly April 22nd shooting that targeted tourists in Pahalgam in India-administered Kashmir. 26 men were killed in the attack, the worst on civilians in the contested region for a quarter of a century. Like I said, I think they were tourists. Hang on a second. India has accused Pakistan of supporting cross-border terrorism, but Islamabad has denied any role in the attack. The Information Ministry also issued an advisory notice on Saturday calling on journalists and social media users to exercise utmost responsibility and basically saying, say what we want, say the approved message while reporting on matters concerning defense and other security-related operations. The advisory note, which cited previous cases of conflict with Pakistan, including fighting in 1999 at Kargil, warned that premature disclosure of sensitive information may inadvertently assist hostile elements and endanger operational effectiveness. Indian social media accounts have also been awash with comments on the killings at Pahalgam, with hashtags including war with Pakistan and finish Pakistan trending on social media platform The Tweeters. And finally, I don't know about this being propaganda. Come on. Why are you being like that? This project that Saudi Arabia is doing in the desert, you may have heard of this. It's this kilometers long thing. This is supposed to be this living area. Let's just read the story. So Saudi Arabia reviewing the Noam projects, citing limited resources. So they hyped this thing up to hell and back, and these are design plans for the line in the heart of the Red Sea megacity Nome on July 26, 2022. It's a megacity called the Line, all right? The CEO of Saudi Arabia's futuristic city Neom, I think it's Neom, has launched a... Noam is is that chick from Montana who's I think she's Homeland Security, I think. Neom has launched a comprehensive review of the kingdom's mega projects, signifying more belt tightening to come with falling energy prices. Nobody buying Earl anymore. One person familiar with the review told the Financial Times on Monday that the scope of several projects surrounding Neom was being reviewed due to an environment of limited resources. This is the classic, I bit off more than I could chew. Neom is the flagship of Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman's Vision 2030 plan to transform the kingdom's economy and reduce its dependence on oil revenue. The kingdom has already had to scale back Neom, originally billed as a $1.5 trillion megacity project, which organizers claim will eventually be 33 times the size of New York City and include a 170-kilometer straight-line city known as the Line. Instead of 1.5 million people living in the city by 2030, Saudi officials now anticipate fewer than 300,000 residents. Meanwhile, only 2.4 kilometers of the city will be completed by 2030. So, wait, how long is this thing supposed to be? 33 times the size of New York City. Now they're like, Saudi Arabia has begun operations at some of NEOM's larger projects, such as the Red Sea resorts, but others, like a desert ski resort with artificial snow to host the 2029 Asian Winter Games, have yet to materialize. Saudi Arabia is trying to position itself as a luxury tourism destination, but for now it needs oil revenues to invest. Maybe stop cutting people's heads off. That might get more people, more asses in the seats, as they say. Yeah, it's a nightmare in the making, definitely. Yeah. Yeah. By the time Star Trek becomes reality, they might have it done. So they need oil revenues to invest. Energy prices, however, have plunged amid economic uncertainty driven by American tariffs and an influx of more oil supply. So Trump's tariffs are killing NEOM. On Monday, Brent, the international benchmark, was trading at $64.27 per barrel, down 2.31%. Brent crude oil, that is. Brent prices have tumbled about 20% since the start of the year. For years, Saudi Arabia was the main proponent of restricting supply in an alliance alongside Russia. Russia dubbed OPEC Plus. The kingdom absorbed most of the production cuts within OPEC Plus, while Iraq, the United Arab Emirates, and Kazakhstan boosted production. In April, Saudi Arabia led OPEC Plus in a surprise move to boost production in what energy analysis said was a move designed to punish cheaters exceeding the production limits. The combination of lower oil prices and economic uncertainty is being felt in Saudi Arabia. The IMF, the International Monetary Fund, says Saudi Arabia needs oil at $90 per barrel to balance its budget. And when we say it was up here, it's $64 a barrel. In April, Goldman Sachs painted a bleak picture for Saudi Arabia's projects in a note to clients projecting pretty significant budget deficits and more scaling back of mega projects. NEOM has already faced one reshuffle. Nadmi Al Nasser, who managed NEOM's construction from 2018 to 2024, departed from his post in November. Nasser earned a chilling reputation managing NEOM. He bragged that he put everyone to work like a slave, adding, "When they drop down dead, I celebrate. That's how I do my projects." Oh, wow. This sounds like a boss I used to have. Two other foreign executives also left NEOM at the end of 2024, according to the Wall Street Journal. One reportedly disparaged Islam, made lewd references about sexual positions, and said women from the Arabian Gulf looked like transvestites. Wow. Ayman al-Mudayfer was appointed CEO of NEOM in November after overseeing a real estate division of the kingdom's nearly $1 trillion public investment fund. Crown Prince MBS has overall authority over PIF and is spearheading its investments across the kingdom. This thing, 170 kilometers, and they're not even gonna get a fraction of that done by 2030. 2.4 kilometers. It's gonna look like basically they're just gonna build the Mall of America like they have in Minnesota and just call it a day. Say, you know what, close enough. You don't need 170 kilometers. Come on, guys. We were just, we'd like to do a lot of that drinking around the house. So that's your propaganda watch for today. I hope you enjoyed it as much as I did. Delicious. Before we get to the kicker, just to remind everybody about our buddy Kevin, Black Bear News. I think his show's going to be on at 2 p.m. Central Time, so that's 3 p.m. Eastern, 3, 2, 1, 12, noon on the East Coast, I believe. So yeah, make sure and help him out too. He lost his home in the fires out there in LA, and his GoFundMe is down below in the description. And if you can't donate, if you can help him out by sharing the link, that works too. So finally, today we have a fun little story for you. Have you ever had your car stolen? You know, and you think, oh man, it's gone. It's gone forever. I'll never see my beautiful ride again. This happened to a British guy, and things were kind of weird in that respect, because a British man unknowingly buys back his own stolen car. So here we go, right there. The Type R Civic. That's a nice looking car. I love Hondas. I especially love Honda Civic. I had a 91 Honda Civic. Oh my, thank God. I rode that thing hard and put it up wet, but man, that was a great car. Had very little maintenance I needed to do to that car. So a British man who paid more than $26,000 to replace his stolen car later discovered he had unknowingly bought his own vehicle back. Ewan Valentine, 36, from Solihull, England, said he discovered February 28th that his black 2016 Honda Civic Type R had been stolen from its overnight parking space. Valentine said he was distraught about the loss and hoped to replace the car with a nearly identical vehicle. Yeah. Sure enough, I found one for sale. Same color, same year, same custom exhaust system, he wrote on social media. The vehicle plates and the VIN number there, that's that little thing on the windshield underneath there that tells you, it's basically like the identification number for the car, were different from his stolen vehicle. So he didn't think too much about the similarities until he had already paid more than $26,000 for the replacement ride. Oh, you're a Toyota fan? Look, this ain't a pissing contest, Kill. Okay. Oh, you had a Honda Prelude with a standard. Yeah, man. I had a stick shift too. Love the stick. Yeah, man. It's a great ride. It's a great ride. No, I have a buddy who has a Toyota. Toyotas are good too. I think he had a Corolla. I think so. I started to notice, let me do this in a British accent. I started to notice some odd things when I got home. I noticed a tent peg and some Christmas tree pines in the boot. The boot being the trunk, if you're not familiar with that. I noticed the locking wheel nut, giggity, was in a Tesco sandwich bag. I noticed some wrappers in the central storage area, all oddly similar to my stolen car, he wrote. Valentine decided to check the car's onboard GPS and discovered it had previously been to his house, his parents' house, and even his partner's parents' house as well. A part of me felt sort of triumphant for a moment until I realized, actually, no, this isn't some heroic moment. You didn't go and get your car back. You actually done something a bit stupid, Valentine told the BBC. He took the vehicle to a Honda dealership where technicians confirmed the VIN was a fake and the car was indeed the one that had been stolen from Valentine. The first Honda technician, he pulled the physical key out, pulled it straight into the door and unlocks it, and he's like, yes, it's your car, Valentine said. He said he does not believe the garage that sold him the car knew it was stolen. The police in the Honda garage all said this was one of the best clone jobs they'd ever seen, so if it wasn't for these little artifacts, no one would have ever known, he said. The car is currently being investigated by police for forensic evidence and will then be turned over to Valentine's insurance company. The police are now handling, or the coppers are now handling the car over to my insurance company, where they'll get it road legal again and in a position that it can be insured on my original policy again, or pay out for the car if that costs more than the car. So the happy ending for the guy, but that is just fucking wild, right? Your car gets stolen, you're like, man, I really love that car. You know, I hopefully someday I could get one just like it. And then they get the fucking shit. I just wish I could repurchase my stolen lust for life that has been tragically stolen from me. my faith in humanity, that was stolen from me a long time ago too. Can I buy that back and then get insurance to pay for that? Yeah. So anyway, glad to be back. Sorry for the delay on the old show there. You know, it is what it is, but you know, we're back doing this, and hopefully everyone you know, is informed from this. I hope you got something out of it. So I will be back doing this again on Friday, same bat time, same bat channel, 11 a.m. Eastern, 10 a.m. Central, 9 a.m. Mountain Time, 8 a.m. Pacific Time. If you're new, I appreciate if you'd like, share, and subscribe. If you want to donate to the show, we got donation links down below. If you want to become a Patreon, you can do it for $1 a month. We put your name up at the front of the show, and to show our appreciation for you and say, hey, look, these are some cool people. They're doing good things. Happy Tuesday to you too, CBC voter, and happy Tuesday to everybody. It is Taco Tuesday. Make sure you get the 2-for-1 special. It's delicious. You're looking to buy some fucks to give, Gil? I know, right? Did you lost all your fucks? That somebody stole your fucks? Yeah, somebody stole my fucks too. All right, folks, that's it for me. I'll see you Friday, or maybe before then, who knows? We'll see. And take care of yourselves. Be good. Make sure you're using your critical thinking skills. Don't take people's word for as gospel these days. There's a lot of liars in this space. And just make sure that you're looking at all sides of an issue before you start making judgments on people or certain issues or anything like that, okay? Because team sports is what's killing not only just the left, it's killing humanity, right? And we're killing each other, and we need to stop that shit post haste. So see you Friday, maybe before, we'll see, but definitely Friday. Behave yourselves. Love each and every one of you. And tell your mom I said hi. And that I will have the Spider-Man outfit that she requested. When I come over tonight, woo, Spider-Man!
This is City Alpha 5! Woo!
Soon.